What's going on, Greg and Melissa? Wanted to just share a couple of thoughts and even some action points for the Butler campus specific to Kid Zone. So I visited a couple weeks ago and I made some observations and even looked at some of your stats over the last few weeks. So I sent you a text about this, but let me just kind of review a couple things. When I first started monitoring the attendance, you guys were right around 15% in Kid Zone compared to the 85% in the adult portion of the service. My target is always to shoot for somewhere around 25% kids, 75% adults. So that ratio is something that isn't necessarily concerning when you guys are first launching, because I think that there were some dynamics with your launch team that didn't involve a lot of young families. But in order for you to grow, it's important to really try to hit that target, because the growing edge of your church is likely going to be young families with kids. That's the trend around the country with churches that are truly growing. If you primarily have a group of people that are on the older side of things, typically they're set in their ways. They come, they go to church, but they're not influencing and bringing more people in. So what I've found is a couple of really good trends. First off, your average attendance now for this entire year in the kids ministry is 21%. So that's a 6% swing. So there's definitely some progress there. That number specifically is probably skewed because of the Candytown numbers, because you have a lot of people that are coming there, and that spikes your numbers, which is not a problem. But I also looked at last week, and your average was 19% in Kid Zone compared to 81% in the adult worship service. Lots of numbers. All that to say, things are trending upward with the ratio there. You went up 4% for this past week from your average, and then you also went up 6% as your overall average for the entire year. So great stuff, really good progress there. Here are my observations. I think there's some key things that we can do to really invest in the Kid Zone area and plan for some additional growth. There are phases in your growth that you want to think about. With a church plant, with a campus, there are different benchmarks that you need to hit, and phases and behaviors that you want to have to be able to grow to the next level. So your goal is not to grow to a church of 500 people right now. Your goal is not to grow to a church of 1,000 people. Your goal right now is to grow to a church of 150 or 200. Right now you're floating around 125. So whatever that next benchmark is as a church, you want to do everything you can to get to that next level. Once you get there, you want to get to the next level. In kids ministry, it's the same thing. I really look at the Saturday service as a model of what we have at Hampton for how to grow from nothing to something significant. For several months, we were committed to have the Saturday service here at Hampton, and not a lot of people were showing up. I was getting anywhere from 0 to 3 kids showing up for weeks and months, but we remained committed to it. And there's a strategy that I used that differed from the other 2 weekend services on Sunday. And now Saturday is actually probably one of our bigger services. We're getting 50, 60 kids in the elementary area. So what I did was, rather than trying to create this highly programmed experience, I made it extremely relational. It was basically like a big, giant, small group where we're making it very fun and engaging for the kids. So I did a lot of games, I did a lot of fun stuff, and I try to do something memorable every single week. Just trying to grow things from there. So if you look at the disc profile, Melissa, you and your team should be functioning more as disc I's and disc S's. I's are the charismatic, fun, kind of lighthearted and spontaneous people. Think about like a Caleb Leak person that is just bouncing off the walls, fun, and kind of wild. That personality is going to create that fun experience. You also want to be more of an S personality that is very relational and connecting. You're engaging with kids. You're spending quality time with each kid that's there. So what I observed is your primary method to run your service when I was there was probably similar to what I would do at Hampton, which is more of a D style that is run everything efficiently, be very effective in things, run the service programming so things happen one after another, and it's very crisp and sharp. But when you have a group of 5 to 12 kids in the room, you don't need that dynamic. It doesn't need to be crisp like that at this phase. Eventually, you'll have to get to that phase. But I think right now, your goal is not efficiency. Your goal is relationships and fun. And that happens with a lot of just spontaneous stuff and things that are going to be memorable. So think back to when I was there, that goofy block tower that we built. The older dude that was in the room, I forget what his name was, but you were going to talk to him about Crew 45. He's going to go home and remember that block tower. It was dumb. It didn't take any time, but rolling the dice of destiny at that block tower is something that was fun for him. And I think he'll go home and remember. What you want to do is you want to try to create those memorable experiences for every kid that's there every single week. And when you have 5 to 10 kids, you can actually do that. So some action points that I would say for you right now is, number one, make sure you're creating something memorable. It can be a conversation with an individual kid. It can be a group activity that you do. It could be them winning a game. But create something that they're going to remember that you can point back to, and just make it super fun. So if somebody wins at Four Corners, remember who that person was. If you built a block tower with somebody, remember what happened there. If you colored a picture of Finding Nemo with a kid, remember that. Whatever those things are, remember those things. And at the end of every week, write a personal postcard to every child that was there, referring to what you did with them. Make it very, very personal. This is a very, in a DISC personality profile, this is an S function. It's creating those quality experiences and referring back to them and reaching out to them with a postcard. Kids love those postcards. If you can do that every single week with the kids, refer back to that personal time and ask them to come back or say, hey, I look forward to seeing you next week. You're going to have some really good quality connections. One of your challenges right now is you don't have a lot of kids to work with. So what you want to do is you want to take every kid that you have and try to get them to come back every single week. Additionally, every child that does not come every single week, send them a postcard. And just tell them that you missed them. Tell them what you're going to do this coming week. Maybe you have something fun every single week that you're inviting them back to. It doesn't have to be a lot of crazy stuff. It can be a snack. It can be that you're serving Pop-Tarts that are super cheap. Say, hey, this week we're going to have Pop-Tarts. Love to have you there. It's going to be super fun. We're going to do some other fun stuff. And maybe the next week you make waffles, or just toaster waffles or something like that. But those little things that you can invite every kid back to every single week and remind them in a postcard is going to build a little bit of a buzz and get them excited about it. Doesn't take much to get kids excited. So create those memorable experiences. Write a postcard to every kid, whether they come or don't come, and plan something special that you can refer to in those postcards. And you're going to get a lot of kids coming back. You're going to build some buzz. And the last thing that's kind of a separate thing, you want to also try to create some good events that you're getting new kids in that can be a part of your mailing list. As you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to shift from this small group experience to grow to be more of a full-size children's ministry. Just like what happened at Hampton on Saturday nights. We went from having 0 to 5 kids, and then we went to having a dozen, and then we went to having 15 and 20, and now we're a full-blown service with 50, 60 kids. But you want to focus in your phases. Right now you're in a small group phase, and you want to really create your programming to be more small group, relational, and memorable rather than this big, large group phase. Once you get to a certain number, there's some momentum that happens, and you have to shift from sending postcards to every kid every week to being more of a large group program experience, and shift your approach from a DISC S or a DISC I approach to more of a D approach where you keep things running, probably similar to what you'll want to do in Kids Kaboom this summer. But keep that in mind. I think if you do those things, you're really going to progress well, and there's going to be a lot of growth. So again, number one, create an experience or a memory for every child every single week. Number two, send a postcard to every child that attended and every child that didn't attend. If they attended, refer back to the memory that you have from the previous week. If they didn't attend, just do something personal with them. And number three, always have every single week something special that's happening. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be expensive, but get them hyped up about it in Kid Zone. Say, hey, next week we're going to have waffles. Next week we're going to have Pop-Tarts. The next week we're going to have the popcorn machine back or whatever. And highlight it in Kid Zone, highlight it in your postcards, and invite all the kids back. Just a couple things that I think are really going to add to the experience. This doesn't take a lot of time. This takes maybe 30 to 60 minutes to do all these postcards and plan the little event to have Pop-Tarts or waffles. It's nothing big. Don't do anything big. I don't think big events every single week are the approach now. Everything now is very relational. It's small group, and it's getting kids hyped about what's happening. So I think these things are great steps. Love to talk to you about this, but I wanted to make sure that I passed this along to both of you so that you were able to think about this, talk about it. We can set up a meeting with the three of us, but I wasn't sure when we'd all be together, so I wanted to get this to you quickly. All right. Love to help you guys. If there's anything you need, please let me know, and I'll see you both soon.